MSCS Media is now part of the Spotify exclusive team. If you'd like to watch this episode and others, uncensored and uncut, click on the link in the description
All right,
below.
we have a special guest here today, Darren Prince. For some reason, I always want to call you Price.
It's happened, and people call me Dennis for some reason.
Well, at least it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, thought leader, speaker, podcast host, over 13 years clean. I mean, I can go on and on. The marketing, everything. I mean, just amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So you're from New Jersey, huh?
Born and raised in New Jersey, grew up in Livingston from the time I was 6, and I got smart and left for California, I guess about 4 years ago.
You had to get out of New Jersey, right?
I had to get out of New Jersey at the time.
We're both from Pennsylvania. Too cloudy and dreary, and it's
Yep.
just, I mean, what do you do?
Yep.
So let's start with aiming high.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what made you want to write that book?
My dad passed away in 2017, and for years he was on me about writing a book about, my experiences with the iconic athletes and celebrities I represent, mainly Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, that we were able to have the blessing of being a part of getting those two, regal icons to reunite before the 2000 NBA All-Star game. Me and my dear friend Harlan Warner, who represented Ali and brought me in on the Ali side in 95, and then I started working with Joe, and we made it happen. I just said, Dad, it's a private moment, it's not something they ever wanted to, share with the world. And when he passed, I started getting all these just incredible signs. At that point, I had about 8.5 years sober, and just by chance, I met my publisher, Anna David, on Instagram. Was in LA. I went to meet with her. We start talking like we're talking now, and she goes, "Your story is incredible. Your passion." She's like, "The way you speak about recovery, and you're so humble about what you've built as a career." She goes, "Why don't you write a book for my publishing company?" And I was like, "I didn't even know you had one." And she was also in recovery, and she goes, "What you need to do is take people on the journey of the hell of 24 years of drug addiction to the beauty of, at that time, almost 10 years in recovery, and make the celebrity stuff a fly on the wall." And that was it.
And you did it.
That's it. That's the hook. And it took.
And you did it here. And you got it in Kindle, audiobook, hardcover. I mean, there's no way you can't not. There's a way to get to the book.
Yeah.
And when I was reading it, because I like to read it like the old school newspaper.
Exactly.
I had to really check, is this really Darren? Mm-hmm. Is this Darren? Because in the beginning, it's talking about you growing up, you're 14, you're going to I went to card shows.
Yep. What
gave you the idea to start vending or shipping, or how'd you do that at 14?
So I had I don't know if it's the right wording, but I guess I had a little bit of a side hustle where by the time all my boys were 13 and 14, cards became kind of like corny and not cool anymore and out of style. And I had 4 different odd jobs. I was squeezing orange juice at a supermarket. I was a busboy at a diner. I was working a stock room at a sneaker store, and I was working at Calabria's Pizzeria in Livingston. And I just took all that money, and I would buy shoeboxes for my friends of cards. On top of it, the ones that did collect, they loved like the Don Mattingleys, the Roger Clemens, the General Strawberries, the Kirby Pucketts, the Tony Gwynns. But back then, there was no Beckett. There was something called CCP, Current Card Price Guide, and it was a newspaper that came once a week. And that was the stock market for the card industry. And I noticed that these older, smelly-looking cards that had players named Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Babe Ruth, they had them in their shoeboxes from their grandfathers, their uncles, and their fathers. So I would give them the new ones for the old ones that were worth a ton of money. And I was challenged by an intro to business teacher I'm still close with to this day, Elliot Lovey. And I was a terrible student, but something about business, my dad was an entrepreneur, made me feel comfortable, really was something that I felt I could learn because I was classified with such a severe learning disability. So when he challenged us to all go home and create a business, I already had it in my mind. I just never executed.
So he pushed you and gave you the confidence.
Yeah.
And then maybe you didn't excel in school, but for whatever reason, that interested you, right? And
that was it.
Then now you're into sports at 14.
Yep.
And now you're just tearing things apart.
Yeah.
And you're working all these jobs.
Exactly.
While everybody else is going to school, doing whatever.
They're all partying at a young age and having house parties on the weekend. And my dad, God bless him, he knew that there was something very different, special about my brain, especially with numbers. I was like a statistical genius. I can tell everybody's batting average, RBIs. I'd read the newspaper, and I noticed when I was in school, if there was a big game at the Yankees, Mets, or something, everybody would be coming to me to verify or fact check. Hey, what did Mattingly do last night? Prince, we got to ask Prince, and it made me feel good about
Prince,
myself.
you would have been the best bookie ever.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you would have been the best earner ever. You would have been captain in no time. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water, it's Fiji water.
Again, that's FijiWater.com/MSCS, $5 off and free shipping. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. I want to talk to you guys out there who are working out all the time but aren't seeing any results. Your commitment isn't the issue. You're going to the gym all the time, different body parts, everything else. Before you go and buy a new supplement, try a new diet, new routine, let's talk about your testosterone. Low testosterone can affect anyone at any age. And low testosterone will take away muscle mass and you'll gain body fat. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. They're the worldwide leader at home testing kits. You order the testing kit, it's delivered right to your house, discreet packaging, next day delivery. You send it back. Once it arrives in the laboratory, your results will be available in 2 to 5 days on your secure online account. So if you want to test your testosterone levels without leaving your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS and use the code MSCS at checkout and get 30% off. The link is in the description at the top.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. And so I told my dad, I'm like, look, I got to create this business. I need insurance. And he thought I was a little nuts. He goes, for your cards? And I said, yeah. I said, I need about 8 or 9. And he goes, all right, I'll call homeowners in the morning in case we ever have a flood. I'll get you $1,000 worth of insurance. And I said, no, Dad, 8 or 9,000. So now his head is spinning. How does this 14-year-old son have 8 or 9 grand worth of cards? We sat down. He goes, where can you sell them? I said, it's funny you should ask. I ran back upstairs, grabbed this big newspaper ad like this big, and 2 weeks later at the Holiday Inn in Livingston, there was a card show. For $20, I was able to get a table, and I worked every day after school on having the perfect display cases. I invested in the beautiful cases, like the gold ones, the silver ones. He owns a typesetting and design company and a mail order coupon company, and he let me, his typesetters design the most perfect sign. So I knew that I was going to have the most beautiful 6-foot display.
Oh, you had every angle it could be. You had their parents that were entrepreneurs like crazy.
Yep.
They supported you.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had their own way of winning and negotiating. Then you had your way too. I mean, you were just set to go boom.
Yeah.
And then you took off. And then pull up his book again, because you see, when you look, you think of, okay, all these celebrities, but that story you just told, you would never think that.
No.
And that's what's so amazing about this book. And how did you get Magic Johnson involved in this?
So after the baseball card business blew up, I sold it, blew up for the better. I sold that company, Prince of Cards, in 1989, and I got involved in booking autograph signings. And to me, that was just cool, sexy, fun. You're getting to hang out with all these great, celebrities and network and schmooze, and I built that business up. But Magic, Joe Frazier, Chevy Chase, who else was there? I think Larry Bird at the time. They were all booking their autograph signings through us. And without getting into it in the book, I got into a little bit of legal trouble, probably around 94, 95. That basically was like one of those moments in life where, like Magic said, you're going to make a lemonade out of lemons. And my dad, again, we were in Alaska fly fishing. I took like the last $3,000 I had to my name, and he was an old school Jewish guy. Didn't want me spending the money, but I knew this was a trip that we needed. And literally out on the stream fly fishing, and he looked over at me and said, what's your next move? You're going to go back into the business? You want to do cards again? You want to do the memorabilia signings? I said, Dad, you know what? I didn't know the word was haters at the time. I'm like, you know what? It's just, life is funny. When you're on top, everybody wants to be there, but you find out who your real friends are when you're struggling.
Isn't that funny, right?
And
when you have everything, everybody wants to hang on.
everybody wants to be around you.
And then when you have $1, nobody's around. But then as soon as you get it back again, everybody just run into you.
Everybody comes back. And again, the reason I sent my dad to my rescue, because I was like, I think I want to be an agent, Dad, but I just don't have 8 years to go to law school. And he dropped his fishing pole and he looks over at me. I have this tour guide with us. He goes, law school? What the heck do you need to go to law school for? I go, I thought I need to be a lawyer to be an agent. He goes, Darren, life is about who you know, not what you know. There's not an entertainment and lawyer in Hollywood, in New York City, anywhere on this earth that wouldn't kill for your connections.
Your dad's a beast.
Yep. Yeah. And that was it. He goes, why don't you talk to Magic? He knows about making mistakes. It was a few years after the HIV announcement. And I bet he might consider letting you represent him. And it was a month later, I was in Michigan with him, and we had to talk. And he told me words that changed my life forever. He's like, I'm going to give you 2 years to become my agent, but if you don't use me to knock down every door to bring in all the celebrities you can to the agency, I'm going to fire you before the contract is up, because life is not about how successful I become, Darren. It's how successful I make you and everybody else around me. It's a domino effect, so remember that.
And look at Magic. Look at what he's got. Yeah. He's got everything.
Yep.
He's the man.
Now, when you were doing the autographs at about 20, right? You started doing that?
Yep.
Now, how can you tell? Can you give us 3 tips? So if I look at an autograph and I buy it from you, right?
Yeah.
What's 3 things to look at that would tell you, that sticks out in your mind, that this is fake, not maybe fake, or this is definitely
well,
real?
Ironically, the ones that I was selling were authenticated by supposedly the holy grail of forensic document experts who was involved in the whole scheme.
Oh, okay.
Nowadays, you've got JSA, you've got PSA, you've got Beckett. You've got, legit companies that really know what they're doing. Back then, I think it was just a lot more difficult to know, because if a player is signing 200, 300, 400, 500 items, they're all human. Something isn't going to flow right. Something's going to look different. They're going to get writer's cramp. The pen isn't going to, hit the basketball or the baseball or the photo or the jersey right, and it just happens. I just kind of knew from being around all my guys and girls. We had Pamela Anderson too back then. I knew what everything kind of needed to look like to even be close to passing. But I mean, forgeries in any line of work or any industry where they're everywhere.
I just remember my dad used to take me, and we would save up to get like a Ken Griffey Jr. card.
The 89 upper
and
deck.
they'd have 10, 89 upper deck, yep. Yeah. And they'd have 10 of them.
Yeah.
And everyone looked different. I never thought about what you said. How if he signed 300 of them and he switched pens?
Yep.
And I have to do this. AJ will kill me.
Yeah.
I need a story about Pamela Anderson.
Oh my God. I saw AJ yesterday. He came to meet my girlfriend. So Pam, let me think. So
and then we'll get right back.
We were at the Tyson Franz Botha fight. You could actually see me sitting ringside if you're watching that on YouTube with Chuck Zito, me, Chuck, Natalie Rattano, our co-star from VIP, came with us, and she was actually a closet sports fan.
Really?
And Muhammad Ali was there, and she knew that I worked with him, and it was just so difficult to get over to the other side of the room because it was just such a celebrity frenzy, and she was always just bombarded. I mean, she was the Marilyn Monroe of the generation back then, and it was funny because she's like, you know what, I don't want to bother him. He looks a little, sluggish, and it's kind of hard to get over there, and it's okay. Let's just go to the after party, and if you can get me a signed photo, that would be amazing. So at the time I got it, I got her a signed photo. I used to get her and Tommy Lee signed stuff from Magic, and they loved it.
I thought Tommy Lee was the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah, Tommy was a good dude. I've watched part of that docu-series, and I some, a lot of inaccuracies, I would say, because they were really, really good people.
Yeah,
really good people.
It's like they always have to exaggerate it for the ratings.
Yep.
But to me, they looked like the happiest relationship in Hollywood.
Yep.
And then that stupid video came out, and he went to every little place in the world and finally found a little closet, I guess, if that's even true, to do anything.
Yep.
So now you're 20, so now you kind of get bored with the autographs because you want to be an agent.
Yeah.
So then what happens?
So the agency started in, I'd say, about 1995. That's when I had that talk with Magic. And, I came out just like a lunatic, just signing everybody up that I booked signings for, and then other people. And everything was about a leverage, one to get to the other, and, starting to build up corporate resources that would say, hey, we want to hire Magic Johnson for a keynote or for this and this promotion. And I'd be like, no, this is this is great, and we'll get you his quotes and his rates and everything, but why don't you also consider X, Y, and Z? Because I realize that even now more than ever, it's not really about the talent you represent. You got to get in with the brands that are writing the checks. Then you can find any celebrity that you need.
Right.
So I knew that was eventually really going to be the core of the business. It wasn't just about having the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnson and the Hulk Hogans and the Ric Flair and the Joe Fraziers and the Evel Knievels, that I needed to establish the relationships with the brands on a personal level just as well as I do with my celebrities, because people do business with people they like.
What's a negotiation tip you could give? Because I've seen how much you negotiated.
Yep.
I mean, you're one company right now, $200 million. I think right now.
I think that's an old buy.
That's an old one.
Yeah, humbly.
I mean, congratulations. I'm not just money's money.
Yeah.
Who cares? But congratulations.
Well, we don't get all of it though, guys. We work on a percentage.
Okay. Yeah. When I had an engineering firm, we did part of the breakers.
Yeah.
It had that $400 million thing.
Yeah.
Well, after you pay everybody, believe me, there's not even $1 million left.
Yeah. Well, thank God.
In that job.
Thank God we got more than that.
Good for you.
But I mean,
that's why I'm asking you how to negotiate.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just got to be fair on both sides. In my business, when different brands come to us for clients, keynote rates are usually pretty much set. Everybody has their rates going to a keynote or a personal appearance. It's the bigger opportunities like the endorsements, the commercials, the social media posting, the satellite media tours. And my office is funny. I've got 4 guys back in Jersey. I've got my 2 girls and 2 of my guys in LA. And I taught everybody, look, give them a range.
Can you pull up Prince Marketing?
Yeah. I said, it's real simple.
Give them
it's not going to be as low as 10,000, but it's not going to be half of it either. And then that way you just put it right on them.
What a move. Give them a range, right? And then let them pick. Then you can negotiate
down. You can negotiate from there, because you never want to negotiate against yourself either. I mean, we're not looking to gouge anybody, but at the end of the day, if they come in short and they don't understand the value and what that celebrity can do to raise awareness for their brand, product, or service, you're probably going to be done before the negotiation even starts, because sometimes they just throw numbers out without having any clue.
You know what I noticed, like in this little podcast thing? So say you want, let's just say Jamie Foxx, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, before Jamie Foxx, like I know you know him, but just as an example, there's 17 guys before Jamie Foxx. Yeah. So Jamie Foxx might say, you know what? I like that event. I'll go there for $5,000.
Yep.
Well, then this guy tacks on $2,000. By the time he gets out to here, it's $50,000 to get him in when, and that's just amazing how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you another thing too in our business. We really haven't done much with search engine over the years. We tried it, but we have a lot of agencies that actually bring us branding deals now for the brand.
I bet they
do. So we have to be careful on that too, because sometimes when there's too many hands on it, there's not enough money left in, if you think about it, if that agency is dealing with another agency for the brand, now we're automatically getting a deal that's 20 to 30% less, and a lot of opportunities don't happen because of it.
Yeah. So pull up Prince Marketing. Next one.
The celebrities.
Yep. Celebrities. Yep. So now you have all these celebrities here, and then when I went to services, go to services, Rob. Look at all the stuff that you have. I mean, Rob, read some of them.
So we got print advertising and commercials, casino and nightclub appearances, licensing and product endorsements, trade show appearances, corporate appearances, motivational speaking and charity events, autograph signing, celebrity-sponsored tweets, TV, book deals, public relations, social media management, content creation, and video production.
Is there anything you don't do with
No, I mean, I'll tell you, I was talking to Steve Simon, who's been my dear friend since I was 10. He did the first baseball card show with me when we were 14. And we're like, the website needs so many news stories updated, but thank God, knock on wood, we're so busy, we just haven't had time. Yeah.
Now you're dealing with all these celebrities, right? Yeah. And you're coming up. Now, at what point does the sobriety... At what point does the drug use get really out of control?
So my first experience with drugs, first off, was 14 at sleepaway camp. A nurse gave me a liquid that tasted like nasty-ass cough syrup, and I went back to the bunk. Again, I'm this shy, introverted, not comfortable in my own skin, so-called learning disabled guy. and that green liquid introduced me to the world. But by the time I got back to the bunk, the world got introduced to me. And I had no idea what it was, but I'm flying. I'm the popular one, the talkative one, the funny one, the good-looking one, the buff one. I went to the bunk next door and started flirting with girls for the first time in my life. And again, I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm 14. She just gave me something that made me feel out of sense of self. And the next day, did all my activities, and that next night there was no stomach pain, which is why she gave me this green liquid. But I lied to the counselor. I did that for 3 weeks every day and found that I was taking liquid Demerol when my mom and dad came up for visitation day. And, that was it. I mean, I was off to the races. Like, I knew I needed to get whatever that was in my system. And, it turned out, I'd say mostly that opiates were the biggest problem, especially once I became an agent because I had morality clauses. So I had to stay away from illegal drugs. And then I did everything in my late teens and early 20s. But the opiates, because I had legitimate sciatica from stress, doctors would give me anything I need. I mean, I put them on the phone with a magic, or I'd get him a magic jersey, or
a done deal.
Hulk Hogan we'd get on the phone, or Joe Frazier would actually come to the doctors with me sometimes because he's always worried about so they see that and they're like, yeah. And so at one point I kind of put it like this. I say this when I speak. That was once living to use turned out to using to live. And I don't know where it went bad, but
can you say it again?
That was once living to use turned out to using to live. And opiates, Oxycontins, and Vicodins were no longer my best friend. They became my kryptonite. And I did anything I could to just, I guess, not go into a detox state. And, I'm snorting them. I'm putting them under my tongue because it was a good junkie like myself knows that if you put it, through your mouth and you swallow it, you got to deal with your digestive system, but you put it under your tongue and it goes right through the bloodstream and hits the brain right away. And, that the end was, probably 2 years before I got clean, an overdose in Las Vegas. And
can you take me through that? Take me through what happened in Las Vegas.
So I was in Las Vegas for NBA All-Star Game weekend and a horrible case of bronchitis, and I was there with my now ex-wife, and when I had bronchitis, somebody like me would get excited because I can get a doctor to come to the room and give me Tussinex, my favorite cough syrup in the world, which is a strong opiate-based cough syrup. And he wrote a prescription for about 100 Vicodins, that's some antibiotics. I went to the pharmacy to pick it up, and I called her up. I said, hey, I'm getting ready to go out. I had a client that had a big launch event. Ordered me 3 vodka, Red Bull, and cranberries, and I went back to the room. I finished about half the bottle of the cough syrup. I chopped up probably 4 or 5 pills and snorted them, and down went 2 drinks. And I thought I was good, man, and then literally within like 3 minutes it was like bam, like this huge weight just like hit my chest, and I went down to the ground. My chest is feels like it's ready to explode. I'm sweating my balls off. She's panicking. I'm looking up at the sky. God, don't take me. I don't know what the hell I just did. I promise I'll never do it again. And paramedics came, and they put an oxygen mask on my face, EKG machines everywhere, needles in both arms. And literally, bro, all I'm doing is, don't take me. I'll never do this again. And I never made it out that night. But when I went to bed, I woke up at 3 a.m. And this is the sickest part. I went into the bathroom to look at myself. I got bags under my eyes. I'm bloodshot. I look 20 years older than I am now. I said, what is wrong with you, you sick bastard? You got all this, the most amazing life. Like, who does that to himself? And with that, I put out 5 more of the Vicodins. I chopped them up. I snorted them. And I washed them down with the rest of the cough syrup because to me, it was the vodka, Red Bull, and cranberry that caused the overdose.
But that's what caused the overdose. So you thought, well, if I take that out, I'll be all right if I do it this way.
Yep. So I got zooted again, and that was the definition of insanity, expecting different results while doing the same thing over and over again.
And then when was it that you hit rock bottom? Like, cause like everybody has a different type of rock bottom. For you, when was it? I know you talk about it in your book, but when was that moment where you were like, that's it, I'm completely done?
Yep.
July 2nd?
July 2nd. So on July 1st, my late Uncle Stu passed away last September. Thank you. AJ and I were talking about him yesterday. He was the original king of Miami.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where all my isms and
So that's the
character
truth.
defects came
That's
from.
the truth, Rob.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
You just gave it away.
So married and divorced 4 times. I was the most beautiful woman and very successful down here in real estate. And so he and his then girlfriend Andrea, at the time, they were visiting my mom in New Jersey, and I was just done. Steve in my office, and everyone's trying to figure out what they can do with me, and I didn't want to go to rehab. My ego was too big. I can't be away for 30 days. And so Steve and I had a plan to go to like a resort by myself and just shut it down for a week and detox, literally thinking that's actually going to work. And she just showed up with my uncle. I never met her before, bro. And I said to her, I told her exactly what was going on. She looked at me and she goes, "You don't look good. Never met me before. How do you know I don't look good?" And I told her. And I spilled my guts. I was accountable. I had full disclosure of everything out of my life. And she goes, "This is amazing." She goes, "So you're confessing that you have a problem?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You realize your life is powerless and unmanageable?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you realize you have a disease?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Most importantly, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you realize that the disease of addiction does not discriminate? It doesn't matter if you're from Yeller, Jeller, Park Avenue, or Park Bench, because this and all this stuff doesn't mean anything because you don't mean anything to yourself." And that broke my soul, and I started to cry. And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's okay." She goes, "Or you want to do anything it takes, because I can show you a life beyond your wildest dreams, but you got to listen to me about everything." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm desperate." And she put me on a detox plan on that 36-hour. It was Sunday night, July 2nd, 7 p.m. And I was living in the Caroline building in New York City. I came back from the gym. I'm going through all the crazy detox, the vomiting, the upset stomach.
Sweats.
I can't hold food down. Now, mind you, at the time, I was detoxing from Ambien, Suboxone, mood stabilizers, anxiety meds.
Anything else?
Yeah, and then probably drinking a couple days a week just to deal with the cravings.
Do you think marijuana is a gateway drug into that? Like when you look at marijuana, do you think that's a gateway drug? You know how people always say that? I mean, just out of your, your...
I'll hold the thought on this one. So basically, I had a talk with one of my big recovery advocate brothers yesterday. I've had some mothers upset at me at high school speeches. I have no problem with people if they take it for the purpose that they need to take it. If I had kids, are you kidding me? That over Xanax, Ritalin, Adderall, Valium, 150%.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
So back to July 2nd, I wound up. I came back from the gym, I called them up and I said, "I can't do this anymore. I got to call the freaking doctor and get what I really need to get." And my uncle picks up the phone and says, "It's enough of this bull crap, Darren. You got to put your ego aside already and get yourself to a 12-step meeting. I've been watching you since you were a little kid in these behavioral patterns." And I said, "I can't do it. I've been to those stupid meetings. There's no way." And I hung up the phone, ran into the bathroom, locked the door. My then wife, who obviously experienced other overdoses, is panicking, screaming, banging on the door, "Baby, don't do it." She didn't know if I was going to try to kill myself or overdose. And I'm going through all the medicine bottles to find a couple non-narcotic anxiety pills to help with the cravings. And out came 3 Vicodin, two Vicodins out of one of the bottles, which was shocking because we knew we cleaned every medicine cabinet out. Like, we checked it 2-3 times when Andrea said, "You can't have any opiates in the house." And it seemed like a gift from God because I was so freaking excited and in need of it. But, man, the miracle happened because people talk about those white light moments, and I had it because I fell on my knees and I screamed like I never did before. "Take the money, take the notoriety, take the business. I can't do this anymore. I need a single day of freedom." I said, "If you take me out of hell, I will spend one day at a time the rest of my life taking others out with me." And, I mean, every time I tell this story, the chills, because this lightning bolt felt like it just went right through my right shoulder. And I heard a voice that, "I've got you and you're ready." And I stood up and it wasn't me. And this hand had those Vicodins and went right in the toilet. And I flushed it. I went right to a computer. I found a 12-step meeting. There was no Uber back then, in a church in the upper 80s on this gorgeous summer night. I'm sitting in this taxi looking up at the sky of July 2nd at about 7:30 at night, and I said, holy crap, for the first time in my life, I wanted to stay sober more than I wanted to ever get high. And I walked into his church basement, bro, with about 150, 200 addicts and alcoholics who were all once of a hopeless state of mind, and the leader said, is anybody new coming back or at risk of relapse? I believe it was God that lifted my hand, because this hand went right up. And I said, my name is Darren. I'm sick. I'm suffering. I've got a great life, and I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I don't want to live anymore, and I'm hoping you guys can help me. And it was incredible, because I stepped out of the imposter syndrome for the first time in my life. The big so-called super agent was a fraud. And I heard people say things that just blew me away. I had about a dozen spiritual brothers and sisters that never met me came over. They gave me a hug. They gave me support. They said it's easier to stay in these rooms than it is to come back. If you want what we have, then do what we do. Take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. And then they said, we're going to love you before you ever learn how to love yourself. And you're going to get through this. And I felt something I never felt in my life with another group of humans called connection. It wasn't from Magic, respectfully, or Hulk, or Joe, or anybody. But these people were sharing during that hour, and I heard myself in almost every single one of them. And now my addiction became meetings, because I knew it was life and death. I knew that I heard from my eventual sponsor, Steve Delahoya, I love so much, he just celebrated, I think, 36 years, that this has to come first. Nothing comes before it. You saw what I had to do to my schedule to get here today, because I know we're going to help at least one person.
Yeah.
And, you have to put the same effort and energy into your recovery that you put into using. Because I know if it was 1 o'clock in the morning and there was a blizzard out and the pharmacy was open, but you better believe I'm going to get out of my house and
get there. It doesn't matter what you have to do.
And get there. Or back in the illegal partying days, I'm going to go get, whatever I need to get for me and my boys to freaking party our ass off during a snowstorm. I mean, I did it. I lived it. And so all these little nuggets I kind of took with me, and I learned about the 5 A's: attitude, adjustment, accountability, action, and acceptance. And I rolled them up in a ball and I put them into my heart and my soul. And slowly but surely, I worked on the steps, and one day at a time, this guy started to become whole. This guy started to go back into a time machine to reconnect with why I felt inadequate, why I didn't have the courage to speak up. What would I have done differently? And one day became a week became a month became a year, and then eventually I learned from Steve and other spiritual brothers and sisters, if I want to keep this gift away, I better give it away to other people.
It sounds like you found Darren again. You found Darren again.
Yeah.
And with your brothers around you and your sisters around you, they helped you realize that. And then once you loved yourself again, boom, it was on.
That was it. I mean, I tell people all the time, Jay Shetty's a dear friend. I spoke to him on Saturday. We caught up for a while, and he still talks about our interview and all the messages we both get from that podcast. And, we talk about finding our purpose from our pain. And, I'll tell you what I've said on every podcast. If I lost the business, I love the success. I love the fact that of what we've built the past 29 years. I love the fact that it allows me to take care of people. I've got a staff of 8 or 9, take care of my mom and my sister. All my friends will always tell you I'm super generous. That would be the most heartbreaking part. That wouldn't have the ability to do that. But if I moved into a apartment half the size of this studio, you just give me a TV and a bed and a refrigerator, I'm good, because I found me.
Yeah, you love you. You're fine.
I found me in here, and it's not about the expensive cars anymore and the Rolexes, because I could buy any of that, but not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is knowing that he's listening and you're listening, and when this thing airs, I can guarantee you we're going to save a life. I wasn't blessed to have kids. I think, too much steroid abuse, when I was younger, and the opiates. And that's okay, because I told my mom and dad, my dad was alive, my mom's still here. I was like, you know what? I said, I think God's calling for me to help save other mommy and daddy's kids.
It certainly does seem
with this gift that he gave me.
And Darren, when you're in your addiction, it's in the book and it's important and it relates to something. you were hanging out with Dennis Rodman, and Dennis Rodman was sober.
Yeah.
But you weren't.
Nope.
And you kept, what were you hiding it from him?
Yeah, I was hiding. I mean, he always knew there was an issue with the pills. His was drinking. And I didn't want to hear it from him. I remember, we're on a plane ride back from the UK. We did Celebrity Big Brother. We pulled an all-nighter at Stringfellas. And I'm not even kidding. I think he was drinking ginger ale. And he had to wake me up in the morning. And ironically, we just got on the plane. And who's 2 aisles to the left of us, Muhammad Ali and his wife, Lonnie. It was just crazy. We're like, then it's like, always loved being around him. And he got down on one knee and kind of paid the respect. And Muhammad looks at me like this, like, Dennis is crazy. It was, I mean, I had a lot of different stories, Hulk, there was times that he told me he was worried about me. Magic and I had a heart-to-heart, a couple of years before it happened, but I hid it from so many people. I mean, to this day, I literally have groups of friends that are like, I had no idea. Like, they see me then and they see me now and they think there's so many similarities to the personality.
Yeah.
I was like, that's okay, because I had imposter syndrome. It's in here and in here that I know.
I had a
the
job.
180 that I've
I was just like you. I had a job before. I had work at T-Mobile. I had lost everything. I had everything, the cars, the whole nine. And that's when I realized, who cares about all that stuff? I was working at T-Mobile. So I started drinking alcohol, and I was drinking at work. Now vodka, right?
Yeah.
Now everybody's around me.
Yeah.
Now they know I'm drinking. I'm
Right.
hiding it, when they're not looking. I'm putting it in the cell phone thing,
Yeah.
and I'm quick drinking it. And I keep telling myself, they don't know. They don't know. And they're like, hey, look, we're worried about you. We're worried about you.
Yeah.
And that it can happen to anybody.
Of course.
And that's just, it's crazy. And when you sit there and you actually believe that these people don't know, like you lie to yourself enough to believe that in your situation and mine, I have a fifth of vodka, cheap Vladimir vodka for $5.
Yeah.
And I think that the guy that's standing right next to me and the customer across from me can't smell the vodka. And I actually believe it because I have a mint in.
Yep. Yeah. No, of course. That's typical for, somebody with alcohol dependency, 100%. The other thing with me, though, too, was a lot of these individuals, especially coworkers, were dependent on me. So they're also a little timid about speaking up about me having a problem because nobody wants to, be at risk of, God forbid, getting fired.
Yeah. Can you go back to Darren's main website? Yep. Your main website's great. It's so great. So can you take us through this a little bit, Darren?
That was a speech up in Long Island. I think it was maybe 300-400 kids. It was right around the time the book came out. I had some incredible experiences there when the book came out. I spoke to 4,000 kids a couple of weeks ago in New Jersey. I've got a whole box of letters the principal said coming to me from the kids, which is just the most incredible thing. But this one, it was the day before. It wasn't actually this photo, but I think it was about 3,000 kids, big auditorium. And when I was done, this kind of big, awkward type of kid stands up during the Q&A. His hand's up like this. And he's looking down. I said, hey, sir. I said, how are you, young man? And he goes, I'm okay. I got a question for you, and I appreciate, you sharing with Mr. Prince your story, but, I'm drinking, I'm smoking weed, I'm taking pills out of my mom's medicine cabinet. I'm getting real angry. He's a big dude. I mean, probably 14, 15 years old, maybe 6'4", 6'5", 300 pounds. And he's like, but I'm here to tell on myself because I don't like the way I'm behaving. And I could not believe, I've had one of the best speech coaches, my guy Jeffrey Davis, just said sometimes the best thing to do is just let the emotions flow when it happens and don't fight it. And I'm literally up there with tears. And I was like, oh my God, this is like just unbelievable. So I took a deep breath and I said, young man, there's 2 words I have for you right now. I said, there's 2 words that I'm thinking are, I wish. I wish at your age that I had the courage that you had to stand up in front of this auditorium in front of thousands of kids because you just changed the trajectory of so many other classmates to know that they're not alone. And I said, when I'm done here with the Q&A, can you please come up? I have a few extra copies of the book. I'd love to, have a few more words with you. He was done. He came over, gave me a hug. The next day, I get a call from the principal and said, that was magical that individual lost his dad 6 months ago.
Oh.
I lost my dad a year earlier. That individual has a severe learning disability.
Unbelievable.
He identified with your story. He's like, the mother said she's never seen him read a book. When she went to wake him up for school this morning, the bedroom light was on all night. The book was open on his chest to the last 5 or 10 pages.
So he was basically you as when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Wow, what a connection, huh?
Mm.
And in this big world of millions and millions of people, that's amazing.
I call those my God shots, my GMCs, my God managed coincidences, because that's the thing that never gets old. I mean, business is great and we love the excitement of it, but you can't put a price on that.
What was the first biggest thing that happened that you said, I'm going to go start speaking?
Well, I was asked, 2015, the New Jersey Mental Health Association actually emailed the Rehab Turning Point that was on the Board of Advisors, and they asked if I would be the honoree for mental health, their mental health gala. And it was funny because I didn't even know where that speech is, but I knew nothing about speaking. I just winged it, and I'm sure it was complete crap. The first real one was Turning Point, when they honored me for the first annual Hope and Recovery Award, and that was after. That was thank you. And my dad was already gone at that point, and I being around some of the greatest GOATs of all time in their sport, I remember Joe Montana in a keynote I booked for him one time said that Bill Walsh taught them, if you fail to prepare to fail.
Oh.
And that was the 49ers MO every season. And 6-7 months, my office was going nuts. I'm literally friggin' doing FaceTime with my speech coach. I'm in and out of New York City. I'm talking in the shower. I'm talking by myself. I'm watching body language because, I realized that, this with great, as they say, I think of Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm like, I can't go up there and wing this. I got to go up there, and people need to just feel everything through my pores, and I need God to be working through me, because if he could work through me and I'm doing the work he's been wanting me to do, we're going to get to a lot of people that night. And we did. It was just magical. And then I started working with Banning Treatment Centers down here. I think they have 8 properties. My dear friend Joe Tuttle, they have 14 properties now, and I've got my own call center number for people that need treatment. They can't afford it. I also have my own foundation, Aiming High Foundation, where we raise funds to get people into treatment. I mean, these are all the blessings that come of it.
Unbelievable. What do we do about mental health? I think that's such a big deal, and I don't think it's addressed correctly here in America.
It's not, and I'll tell you, I'm glad you brought it up in that phrase, because this isn't just about addiction. There's always an underlying issue of mental health that causes the self-destructive addictive behavior in addicts and alcoholics. And again, it's the same thing, man. It's speaking up. It's having the courage to understand you're not alone. And if you speak up and get that help you need, it will be the greatest thing you've ever done for yourself.
But Darren, how do you speak up? So, you want to speak up, but maybe your girl might find out that, you have a little bit of something wrong, or one of your boys might find out. Like, how do you get that when you're speaking to these kids? How do you get them to speak up, whether it's addiction or mental health, and maybe you just need a therapist?
Well, it could be a therapist. It could be a guidance counselor, teacher, friend, colleague, sister, brother. There's so many areas on the internet that you can go. If there's somebody that preaches on that, talks about that on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is, DM them, send a message. You're going to get through to somebody. Somebody's going to reply. And the strength is asking instead of marinating it until you wind up in hell like I did. Because that's the only thing I would have done differently. My life worked out perfect when I look at it now. But if I had the opportunity to do things differently, I would have spoken up as a teenager and told more teachers and my parents, look, I just don't feel good about myself. I hate coming home after getting a D. I hate coming home and seeing all my friends in all these classes with 50, 60 kids, and I'm in the rooms with 5.
Yeah.
How do you
get that out of somebody?
It destroyed my self-esteem.
How do you get that out of somebody?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get it out?
I think that's also why I'm here.
Who you are.
I think there's so many, just telling these kids, don't be like me. And if you're an adult, a young adult, middle-aged adult, older adult, just knowing that you have these character defects, it's a direct result of you acting out because you have the underlying traumas and unhealing, and it's never too late. It is never too late to address every one of these issues to get the life that you deserve.
That's right. It's never too late.
And
It's never too late.
I think if
Cool,
someone like Darren speaks to kids or anyone that's gone through some issue in their life, you want to hear from a person that's gone through something than, your teacher who says, you shouldn't do drugs or you shouldn't do this, and she's never done any of that. Someone who's done it and been there, that's the best person to hear from. Like, powerful.
And I know I appreciate that. Dr. Drew is a good friend of mine, and I've spoken to him about this too. Like, yeah, it's great hearing it from doctors and whatnot, but I lived it.
Yeah.
I know the thought process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, again, doctors, people in the medical field, God bless them, but you need somebody that friggin' went through it.
Yeah.
You need somebody where these kids can look at what I've accomplished professionally, and they get enamored by it. And then when I come out and say, hey, I'm no better than you, this was me, and this does not make me cool. The celebrities and the athletes, what makes me cool and what defines me is my journey from the hell of addiction and recovering with my mental health issues and substance abuse problems. And now I've got the ability to touch the world one day at a time and help save and change lives. That's my legacy.
I counted before you came in because I have a mental health issue. I have anxiety really bad, worry word, used to get called worry word. I went to 41 different therapists. 41. Because they walk in, how you doing, Tom? How you doing? As soon as I hear how you doing, I'm out.
Yeah.
The 42nd one came in, and excuse my language, what the fuck are you doing wearing that gold chain with that gold watch? How are you going to start a business like that? I said, you know what? This is my guy.
That's your guy. Yeah, I could see that.
8.5 years.
Wow.
Every single Tuesday.
That. I love that.
Because I walked in, and for the
I love that.
And for the first month, didn't talk about nothing.
Yep.
He would walk in, oh, you got one gold thing off. You got earrings in.
Yeah.
I used to wear earrings.
Yeah.
He goes, how are you going to go to a meeting with earrings in? And, he would break my balls about that.
Of course.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but that's how he was getting to me.
Of course.
Because he knew how to angle me.
Yep.
And he knew, okay, now you got to go to work. You got to go to work now. Now you got to go to work. You got to take your Klonopin.
Yep.
You got to take it. Because I'm like, I'm not taking this. I don't need it.
Yep.
And you got to go to work because you got to be calm. And, you got to have a meeting.
Yep.
No earrings.
Yep.
It always
Of
laughed.
course.
And he'd say the F word all the time.
Yeah.
And that would always just...
You need that too sometimes.
Yeah.
It makes him relatable. It doesn't make you feel like a doctor. It makes you feel comfortable. It makes you almost feel like you're hanging out with a trusted friend where you can let your hair down, let your guard down, and be you.
And then, he had all these patients, Darren, all these patients all day long. And he called me. And he said, did you go to that meeting with an earring in? And I couldn't believe it because he was real expensive at the time. Like, I had, my mom would help out. I mean, cash only per hour.
Yeah.
And he would take the time to call me and say, did you go to the meeting with that one left earring in? And eventually, I never went to any meetings with any earrings.
Wow.
And had an engineering firm and all kinds of stuff.
Amazing. I love it.
And
I love it.
Just that one
There's
thing.
somebody out there for everybody that can, get inside our soul and help guide us to the person that we're always meant to be.
And I mean, like Rob said, there's nobody better to talk to than somebody like you, one way or another. So if we go to your website and, somebody's really on the edge and they heard this and they said, you know what, I'm ready to come out. I have this addiction, this problem. My mind's just not firing right. I don't know what's wrong. How can they go on the site and get a hold of it?
So the website is officialdarrenprince.com. They can message us there. And my Instagram is @agent_DP. We send out hard copy covers of my book for free. We cover the postage. I didn't write the book to make money. When it started to make a bunch of money and became an international bestseller in 4 countries, that's when I was like, I got to open up my foundation. This is the time to do it.
Yep. Let's go back to the Amazon. And what a book. Amazon bestseller internationally. And I know you got to catch a flight.
And our boy Patrick and Nina was a huge help with this, by the way.
Patrick, my buddy, well,
huge help.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Patrick's my buddy, Yep. Well, definitely get the book. It's a great book. I read it from front to back. I mean, it's just...
I love that you're old school and read the hardcover.
Yeah,
That's me too.
I want the hardcover.
I can't do the audio books. And
yeah, they're weird, man. I can't do that.
No, I want to read it. Like in the morning you get the coffee, you sit down and you have the newspaper, New York Post or whatever.
Newspaper no more, but
This is really great because, like you said, this can relate to anybody. You don't have to have a problem. it's just such an interesting story.
Yeah.
But you might read that interesting story and tell somebody else, and maybe they have a little something, and then they read it.
Well, exactly.
And you can get this.
Real quick, just one more thing, Darren. What would you say to somebody who is, maybe watching this, and they just, I don't know if they keep lying to themselves or they keep, I don't have an issue, but they know they have an issue. What should they do? Like, it's so hard. Sometimes it's just like it's put off and put off and put off and put off, and they just keep ignoring it.
That's very common. I mean, that was me. I just you got to stop lying to yourself and take an action, and at least give it a shot. At least just say, I'm surrendering. This way isn't working. You got nothing to lose. We say in the 12-step rooms, we'll always refund your misery if it doesn't work out. So you have absolutely nothing to lose.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't miss your flight, here's the deal. I'm going to let you out, or I'm going to keep you locked in, but you got to come back. Because I got a lot more questions about the book. I want you to take me through the actions.
Yep.
I really like each one of them one by one. So the deal is you can catch your flight if you come back.
Yep.
Deal?
Deal.
Shake on it.
Yep.
Shake on it. Rob,
100%.
you're the witness.
We got it on camera here.
100%.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
You got it, and
appreciate
thank you guys.
Get that book. I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth the read.
Yeah.
And I don't read many books, but I did read this, and I read Machiavelli too.
Thanks, guys.
But this,
you got my word. I'll come back. I will fly into West Palm, and my next trip will probably be September, October. We'll do another part of it.
I can't wait. I'll see you then.
All right.
All right.
If you have never watched a video feed podcast on Spotify before, a settings pop-up box will pop up. Tap on settings, turn data saver off, go back to the episode, hit play. You'll never have to do this